All right, okay. This is the one, isn't it? The moment so many people have been waiting for. After what, almost 16 years of very public arguments, Oasis, back together, live, in Cardiff. I mean, wow. It really wasn't just another concert, was it? More like a proper event. So for this deep dive, we're digging into a really detailed Sky News report. Our mission really is to unpack what happened that night. What did it mean for the fans there? How did Liam and Noel actually handle being on stage together again? And yeah, what did the critics make of it all? Because they've certainly followed this whole saga.
Exactly. And I think what's really striking here, looking at the source material, is that this reunion, it kind of instantly became this huge cultural thing. The report really hammers home this point.
Yeah.
Ultimately, despite everything, it was just about the music, that power it has to, well, to get past all that history, all the bad blood. The music was key.
Yeah, you felt that anticipation. So let's get into the specifics then. How did it actually play out on the night?
The report paints quite a picture, doesn't it? Saturday, July 5th, 2025, Principality Stadium in Cardiff. And as they walk out, screens flashing, Oasis Reunited, tweets flying up, and that phrase, "this is happening," over and over. You can almost feel that energy, can't you? That collective intake of breath.
Oh, absolutely. And to really get the weight of that moment, you kind of have to remember the backstory, don't you? I mean, they split in 2009, and Noel, for years, was absolutely adamant, wasn't he? Never go back.
Yeah.
Plus all the insults, back and forth, interviews, social media, I mean, constantly. So that history, that very public friction, it just made the idea of them walking out together, well, almost unbelievable for a lot of people.
Right.
It definitely ramped up the tension, the anticipation for every single second.
Which leads us right into the music, Dan.
Yeah.
Given all that context, that almost unbelievable backdrop, what did the songs they chose, especially right at the start, what did they actually signify? Well, opening with "Hello, Felt." Yeah, spot on. Liam saying "it's good to be back" sets the tone immediately. But I think playing "Acquiesce" so early, that was really interesting. You know, the lyrics, "because we need each other.
Yeah.
We believe in one another." Okay, yeah, maybe it's about friendship generally, but in that specific moment, it felt, well, pretty loaded, meaningful, almost like the song itself was doing the talking for them.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, subtle nod maybe. And from that point, it sounds like they just gave the crowd exactly what they'd come for. The report called it a stream of favorite after favorite, morning glory, some might say. Cigarettes and alcohol, supersonic, roll with it. Just bang, 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 hit after hit. Must have kept that energy just absolutely soaring.
Totally. And then there was that middle section, which was quite distinct. Liam actually left the stage, left Noel to talk tonight, half the world away. And interestingly, little by little, which the report points out, and critics mentioned too, was basically the only song from this century, from their later stuff. So yeah, critics did call it playlist Oasis.
Yeah.
Very heavy on the first two albums, the big B-sides. But, even when Noel took over for those acoustic tunes, the crowd was apparently right there with him, singing along.
Yeah.
No dip in energy.
Right, and then Liam comes back on stage. And things get even wilder, more classics like Stand By Me, Slide Away, whatever, Live Forever. And then apparently Rock and Roll Star just sent the place completely mental. The energy must have been incredible.
Well, it sounds like it. And the Encore, too, had some really significant moments. The Masterplan was dedicated, wasn't it, to all the people in their 20s who've never seen us before, have kept this shit going. A nice touch. And then straight into Don't Look Back in Anger, which was, pretty poignant. Especially with the Manchester Bees up on the screens. That clear link back to the arena bombing, how the song became this anthem. Really brought everyone together in that moment, you'd imagine.
And Liam, well, being Liam, had to have a moment during Wonderwall, didn't he? Joking to the Welsh crowd, "There are many things I would like to say to you, but I don't speak Welsh." Classic.
Always the front man. And actually, speaking of Liam, his voice, that was a big question mark beforehand, wasn't it? He's had some stick for it over the years. But the report was pretty clear on this. Said he delivered exactly what fans would have hoped for. That raw, snarling thing, the swagger. The overall verdict seemed to be that Oasis, as a band, sounded almost as good as they ever have. Which must have shut quite a few doubters up, I suppose.
Okay, so the music was there, the performance was there, the crowd was obviously immense. But let's talk about the elephant in the room. Liam and Noel. On stage, together. How did that famous tension, that feud, how did it actually look? Did it show?
Well, this is where it gets interesting, because the report specifically says there was no reference to their fallout or making up. None at all. It was all in the gestures, apparently. Very subtle, like lifting their hands together when they first walk out. A shared moment. And then right at the end, after a champagne supernova, this high five and the report called the briefest of hugs. Almost blink and you'd miss it. So, yeah, really understated, not some big public reconciliation.
Which maybe says more in itself. And the audience you mentioned just amplifying everything. 74,000 people, louder than the band, the report said, singing every single word back at them. Just imagine that sound. That must have been, well, an experience just being in that crowd.
Absolutely. And it's interesting how they handled, or rather how Liam handled, that whole dynamic pricing thing. Remember the controversy when the tickets went on sale? It kind of soured the initial announcement a bit. But Liam apparently just tackled it head on from the stage, joked, "Was it worth the £4,000 you paid for the ticket?" And the crowd just roared back, "Yeah." So it seems like, in that moment, all was forgiven, which says a lot about how much people wanted this, I think, the power of the actual event.
And Noel acknowledged the band, too. Mentioned Bonehead.
Yeah, called Bonehead a legend. And he also gave a shout out to the younger fans, the ones who weren't even born when they split, which connects back to that Masterplan dedication, acknowledging that next generation.
Nice touch. And Liam's final words.
Pretty simple, really. Right then, beautiful people, this is it. Nice one for putting up with us over the years.
Mm-hmm.
And based on the reaction, the clear feeling for the fans was, yeah, it's been worth it. Definitely worth the wait.
So, okay, the fans loved it. The band delivered. What about the critics? How did they see it? Enemy seemed to think it was pretty smooth, calling it breezy and drama-free. They mentioned a tribute to Diogo Jota, which was classy, and Noel's joke about the ticket prices, too. The Daily Telegraph focused on the sound, the sheer volume. The band was loud, the crowd was louder. Simple as that. And the Times, they talked about the genius of Oasis, didn't they? How even their bad songs become good. Put it down to immediacy and Noel's knack for stealing just enough from the past. Cheeky. But the Guardian, they did highlight the setlist again, calling it Playlist Oasis. Really heavy on those first two albums, the big B-sides like Acquiesce, the Masterplan. Not much from later on. Does that suggest they played it a bit safe?
Well, it's a fair point, isn't it?
Okay.
I mean, the fans clearly adored hearing those massive anthems. But yeah, those critical takes, when you put them all together, they kind of reinforce this idea, don't they? That this whole night, it wasn't really about the brothers making up publicly or about them trying new things. It was much more about the enduring legacy of those specific songs, that classic material, and the shared experience for the fans, finally getting to hear them live again. That seemed to be the main thing, and clearly focusing on that delivered that massive, worth it feeling for everyone there.
So when you boil it all down, what's the big takeaway here? It feels like, despite all the years of fighting, all the public drama, this Oasis reunion, it really was just proof of how timeless their music is, wasn't it? Proof that sometimes, yeah, the art, the songs themselves can actually bridge these huge divides, even ones that seemed permanent.
Absolutely. And thinking about that, this whole event being centered on that shared love for the music, despite all the personal baggage, it does make you think, doesn't it? It leaves a question for you, listening. In our own lives, maybe in our communities, where things often feel quite polarized, full of disagreements or old conflicts. What are those shared passions, those common grounds, maybe like music was here, that could potentially bring people together? Even if it's just for a little while, setting aside the differences for something bigger, something collective, worth pondering, perhaps.